Hey, what's up, chat? How's it going? It's Tuesday. We're getting a little tactical today, and it's kind of an exciting one because Astra Militarum is getting played now, which is cool. A little bit surprising, to be honest, but we're there. I also forgot to turn my music playlist on. Oop, here it is. So there you go. Now we get some beats. Boom. Best beats. Thanks, Nurgle Matt. What's up, chat? How's it going, everybody in there? Nurgle Matt's hanging out in the chat room. Walter Garvey, not a Space Marine player, coming for the dirt. Oh, there's some dirt, chat, for sure. Hell yeah. All right. Yeah. This is going to be some good stuff. Nurgle Matt, thank you for the link. See if our bot wants to cooperate. I believe that we can throw the link to the Discount Games Inc. into the bot. Let's take a quick look here so we don't have to keep talking about it. So as we're getting introduced in here, chats, we got some exciting stuff going on. I released a video last night actually. Sort of got it done late yesterday and just decided to post it up rather than waiting. And yeah, okay, so we should, theoretically, the bot should work if we put exclamation point list. Let's do it. Survey says that's not right. All right, well, I apologize, chat. Oh, let's try this. Maybe this will work. All right, one more try. Let's go. Hey, there it is. There's the link. All right, link is up in the bot. Exclamation point lists will get you to the place where all the lists are. So that's good. We're doing it. But yeah, we got tons of super sweet stuff going on. I have I've been streaming Darktide over on the Twitch channel for the last 2 weeks or so. I've been streaming like every day, just about. So that's been super fun. Come hang out with me over there, twitch.tv/TacticalTortoisetv. I got 2 max level characters. I'll probably push for a 3rd, maybe later this week. But I have another stream for that scheduled on Friday, and I think tonight I might. There's some new stuff I want to try, so I might stream a little bit as well after this goes dark. So that's gonna be fun. I released a video yesterday talking about some terrain rules, which is pretty good, and we have tons of streaming happening for the rest of the week. So I posted a stream schedule on the community page, so if you go to the channel and hang out over there, you can go check that out. It's also in the stream schedule on the Discord. But tomorrow I've got a game happening on Twitch. Thursday we have a Throwdown Thursday throwback. We're gonna be playing. Oops, excuse me, chat. We're gonna be playing some. We're gonna be playing a game live on stream, so that'll be right here in person, you know, with real armies and everything. And that'll be sweet. So that'll be good. And then that's mostly to prep my setup. I actually have it's charging right now, but I have this super cool camera I just got. It just literally came in about 15 minutes before I went live. I was gonna maybe try it out, but it's still charging. But it's a wireless camera. I'm very excited about. So we're gonna add that to the stream setup and hopefully get more angles and stuff on the game. So that'll be cool. So come hang out with me with that. It's gonna be a little bit of a dry run for the stream for this weekend, which is gonna be the Winter Assault GT held in Boston, Mass. It is a 100-person GT, and I'm gonna be running the stream table and live commentary for that all frickin' weekend, chat, Saturday and Sunday. So come hang out with me for that. And I'm frickin' psyched. So yeah, hell yeah. That's what's going on. It is good stuff. Now, let's talk about some friggin' list and stuff, chat. Let's get into it. Let's do it. So right now we're going to talk a lot about Astra Militarum because this is the first week that Astra Militarum was really available. Interestingly, some events have chosen to adopt it and some have not. So there are going to be some 8th Ed Codex Astra Militarum lists that I apologize to all of the Astra Militarum players in there. We're probably just going to gloss over so that we don't take away time from the 9th Ed Astra Militarum lists, which is much more exciting. But we also have a lot of other interesting results to talk about. Tyranids did pretty well this week, which is great for them. I played a GT this weekend, totally out of practice, played some Tyranids. I tweeted about it. I played 2 games, and there was a bye, so I ended up dropping, so nobody had to sit out for a game. And Yeah. I got destroyed on my second game. Played like an absolute fool, but it was a great game. But I was a little mopey about Tyranids, but clearly that's not, certainly not the case. And I think we have some real strong Tyranid players pulling out some wins with some really cool Tyranid lists. So that's really exciting to see. Obviously, Heretic Astartes still doing extremely well. And then we also have a couple pickups here. We got some Genestealer Cults to talk about. We have some Adeptus Custodes to talk about. Yeah, so I think it's going to be an interesting one. We'll save the Astra Militarum talk until a little later, I think, and we'll just run through some lists starting over here at Warzone Atlanta. Surprise, the latest on FAQ tournament. Won the tournament in his first week. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, the interesting thing about the Astra Militarum Codex, and the reason, just before we dive into these other events, the reason that it's interesting that people are playing it with it this weekend is that it's not really compatible with the current data slate for Astra Militarum. So I think you have to have an event FAQ that removes the Astra Militarum data slate, which I imagine everyone who allowed the codex to be played did do that. So I'm gonna assume that they did. But the reason that Games Workshop has kind of a at least according to some people, I don't know if this has been officially stated anywhere. Maybe it's a US Open thing, but Games Workshop has sort of officially stated that they don't consider the codex to be playable, at least competitively, until the full rollout of the rest of the range in January. And I imagine that that's going to coincide with a data slate update that will remove all of the old buffs that Astra Militarum got. The reason that they're not very competitive or compatible, chat, obviously Imperial Guard get massive indirect fire buffs, and whether or not they keep their exception to the indirect fire rule is kind of an open question. I don't think that they will, because I do think that AM artillery lists become extremely strong if they ignore that if they still have that exception, where they ignore the +1 armor save and -1 ballistic skill for shooting at units that they can't see, but I don't know. The other thing is that all of Astra Militarum vehicles getting Armor of Contempt is anti-synergistic with a lot of abilities that they have. Most vehicles in the game have access to a -1 AP against 1 damage weapon mechanic, and that entirely disappears if all those models have Armor of Contempt, because you can't stack multiple AP reducing effects with Armor of Contempt. That's specifically a clause in the Armor of Contempt rules. So I don't think the intention is that they have a rule in their codex that doesn't do anything. But, GW has done that a lot in the past. So who knows? Really, it's who knows? Whatever. Nergomat said, no data slate for small Ohio GT we're at over the weekend. Hell yeah, that's perfect. Brant said it, but he doesn't speak for GW officially, only US Open. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, there you go. Thanks, Mr. Mike Brandt. So I guess it's kind of it's a U.S. Open ruling, which I guess isn't, is mostly GW, but not 100%. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that. Let's jump into some freaking games here. Warzone Atlanta, big huge event. I think this was like 85 players, so super large one. We did have an Astra Militarum. I believe that they used the 8th edition codex. Yeah, we got old school gunnery expert spotter details in there, so Andrew Whitaker, I apologize. But we do have some other interesting lists to talk about. Some Art of War making their appearance. That is their home turf there, right around that Georgia, Florida area. John Lennon with Tyranids, and this list is a list after my very own heart, chat. I absolutely love this list. I'm probably going to play this list, I think, at least once. Interestingly, running the Kraken adaptive trait, not augmented ferocity, so we advance D3 plus 3 inches instead of advancing the normal D6. But oftentimes, you're just going to end up just doing the... what's the word? You're just going to be doing the strat for advancing at extra 8 inches, so I don't know. I guess it helps on the Hive Tyrants if you don't need to 8-inch advance them. That said, the +1 to charge is a threat range extender rather than just sort of a stopgap, so I don't know. I think there's arguments for both ways, but obviously Highflight Kraken, you get access to the 1 CP opportunistic advance to advance 8 instead of rolling, and you get +1 AP on the charge, which is really good into an Armor of Contempt meta. We have a unit of Tyrant Guard. We did talk about this, I think, in a previous episode, but John Lennon likes to run 2 units of Tyrant Guard, which I find endlessly fascinating. So that's pretty cool. One of them has a Lash Whip and Bone Cleaver, so we're rerolling ones, and we have an AP1 2 damage attack, which is nice. We'll give him a little bit of damage buff there. When the first unit of Zone Thropes, we have a couple units of Zone Thropes. Here's a second one down here. Alongside a Neurothrope with Direct Guidance, a Winged Hive Tyrant with Monclaws of Thyrax. Love it. That's my favorite Winged Hive Tyrant. 1 unit of Venom Thropes, the second unit of Zone Thropes, as I said before, alongside 2 units of Raveners, one with Rending Claws for Strength 6, AP 4, and the other one Scything Talons for 2 additional attacks, and some Biovores for a little bit of indirect fire in the form of Spore Mine Generation. You don't usually use them to actually shoot their guns. That's followed up by a second patrol detachment. This one, second unit of Tyrant Guard. This one does have Rending Claws, so the Strength 6, AP 5. And a second Winged Hive Tyrant. I love it. We're back to the old days of like Crusher Stampede, where you'd run like 2 or 3 Hive Tyrants in a single list. Absolutely love it. So, second Winged Hive Tyrant. This one with Reaper of Obliterax, so doing the mortal wounds and ignoring phase caps, alongside 4 Tyrannid Warriors and Death Leaper with Alien Cunning. Pretty excited to see Death Leaper back in the rotation. I think she's really good, especially if you have kind of, and this list I think in general is pretty good if you have kind of light terrain. Kraken usually falls apart if you can get shot at, because there's no defensive buffs. You play really light, fast units instead of playing units that are hard to kill. And Death Leaper just says, as long as I'm touching a terrain piece, it can't be shot. So I believe this huge player plays terrain because Atlanta loves that. You can place like some stupid dense cover or something on a home objective with nothing else around that objective, and Death Leaper just sits on it the entire game and has Alien Cunning. You can also use her to get, or any character with Alien Cunning, because you can as 5 models and objective secured, to like steal objectives out bottom round 5, which is where this army does a lot of work. So you can make like weird plays where you advance +8 inches, onslaught, charge something, overrun afterwards, and you move like 30 inches and steal a home objective or something from someone. So I like that pick too. So overall, I think the double Winged Hive Tyrant is like kind of I don't know, it's pretty cool. Winged Hive Tyrants are my favorite unit in the game, so I am unspeakably biased to your chat, but I think this list is pretty sweet. Good stuff. We have Nick Nanavati with Eldari. Nick with his handwritten lists. Love to see it. He's running a Swift Strike and Masterful Shots, so we can count as remaining stationary when you advance, plus Masterful Shots to ignore cover. We have a Farseer Skyrunner, a second Farseer just on the foot, 2 Warlocks with Quicken and Restrain, so we can be jumping those Farseer, any of the Skyrunners around. They can pump up, do Psychic actions, use Fate Dice to auto-pass them, and then the 2 Warlocks pull them back with Quicken. I think we just streamed a game with Eldari recently that did not have Quicken in it, and completing those psychic actions without the Quicken combo, it's a little tough. I think that was flashback on the Twitch stream, so that'll be going up on the Twitch, on the VOD channel probably sometime later this week. It was a pretty interesting game, but certainly I think he admitted that was a mistake. I should have taken Quicken for that. We have a unit of Rangers, 5 Striking Scorpions with Crushing Blows for the automatic wounding on the Exarch, 5 Howling Banshees with Crone Scream, no Piercing Strikes. Oh, we have that on a different one. So this is the Crone Scream unit of Banshees, big unit of Swooping Hawks, as is to be expected. Bahorath, it's Baharath's twin brother, I think. A second Farseer Skyrunner, 20 Guardians, that's interesting and cool. Alongside another unit of Swooping Hawks. So really, really pushing in that hit and run. The entire army can advance and then use Battle Focus, so they can jump around. The mobility is extremely high. And with 2 units of Swooping Hawks and Baharath, it's a ton of damage going to be pumped out from units that are basically uninteractable by your opponent. And then following that up, we have the Piercing Strike, Howling Banshee, 10 Dire Avengers. These guys are just like, they're so good for just completing objectives because they can webway gate in, they can webway in, teleport, into somewhere, do an R&D, and then still shoot someone to death, which is just value for 130 points. They'll probably, almost any sort of chaff infantry they shoot at, they'll kill. So a lot of times they kill their points value and they complete an action, and then they force your opponents to deal with them. And if you don't deal with them, you get doomed, and then suddenly the Gyre Avengers rip you apart. We have a Wave Serpent, probably to keep the Howling Banshees inside, as so they can sort of yeet out. You can get the 3-inch disembark range if that Wave Serpent's hiding behind a building. Again, we're on player place terrain, I believe, so that you can sort of position a building so that the Wave Serpent can be kind of center table and out of line of sight. Then you can disembark the Howling Banshees 3 inches away from the Wave Serpent, advance them, Ghost Walk them, and auto 6 a charge, so they go a minimum of 9 inches. So the threat range out of the Wave Serpent is insane. And then last but certainly not least, probably the reason that we have these Guardians, because we can get a discount to put them in strategic reserve, we have a Webway Gate. So I imagine that there were some house rules in there surrounding the Webway Gate, given that it is tough to use without some fixes. But overall, if it works as intended, Webway Gate's pretty strong. It's a pretty strong pick. And in some instances, in some mission layouts, opens you up for Hidden Path. So if you're setting yourself up to get a psychic, what's the word? A psychic Warpcraft secondary, excuse me. You can get the Hidden Path in there, and then between a Shadow Operation secondary or a kill secondary like Wrath of Cain, you actually have all your secondaries tied up, which gives Eldari a pretty strong secondary selection. We have Lee Harris with a Chaos list. This is I really like this Chaos list, chat. It is a Chaos Knights detachment out of House Herpetrax, so they're super tough to kill, with a ton of War Dogs. So looks like 2, 4, 6 Stalkers, 1 Executioner, 1 Moirax, and then if you just have a Vanguard detachment out of Chaos Demons with all the Flamers. So we have 13 Flamers plus a Fluxmaster, and then last but certainly not least, 2 additional Executioners. So 3 Executioners, 6 Stalkers, and a Moirax. So we're at 10 War Dogs plus the triple Flamer detachment. And I think the best thing about this Flamer detachment is that it really, almost unlike, I think, the interaction between the Tzeentch Flamers and other Chaos subfactions, where you're kind of just, you're sort of tomato souping, where you're just putting the similar ingredients together, where like you could have Flamers that are teleporting around and flaming people, or you could also have, Warp Flame, Rubric Marine units in a Thousand Suns army, for example. Flamers really shore up the weaknesses of Chaos Knights, in my opinion, where Chaos Knights very quickly, especially given the fact that even in-house Herpetrax, the War Dogs, unlike Imperial Knight Armigers, are not very difficult to kill. They have a 6-up damage ignore, and they're plus 2 wounds, I believe. They go to 14 wounds, but at only T7 with a situational 5+ invulnerable save, like they'll go down pretty quickly to heavy hitting. So you run out of board presence very quickly. The Flamers either force you to screen aggressively against their Deep Strike, or which gives the War Dog something to do while the Flamers are just chilling. The Flamers can also, they're fast enough, they're move 12 infantry, so they can pass through walls, they can jump around, and they can perform actions like banners, and they can also, just run and grab and contest objectives, which the War Dogs sometimes have tough times doing if they can't make charges around walls and things. So I actually really like this list. I know I've been... what's the word? I've been critical of Chaos Knights in the past. I think alone they are not a very strong faction, but I do think that with the addition of Tzeentch Flamers, that's pretty good for them. And then last but certainly not least, we have Marcus Johnson with Orcs running a Goffs list, and this is a Battle Wagon double kill rig list. So we have a patrol detachment with Gretchen, Warboss, and Warbike. He is brutal but cunning and has to kill a claw. And the initial battalion detachment is a Weird Boy, Boss Zagstruck, and a Squigosaur Beast Boss. That one with Beast Hide Mantle. And proper killy. And then we have 2 units of Beast Snagga Boys to go inside the kill rigs, a couple units of commandos, and by a couple I mean 25 commandos in total. Pretty good. Alongside a unit of Mega Knobs. The 3 Squighog Boy units, 2 kill rigs, and a battle wagon. This is a ton of beef, chat. So you have a ton of forward deploy from those commandos. It's all pretty dangerous thanks to the Goff subfaction abilities, and then that's followed up by the Squighog Boys and the vehicles. So Basically, what you want to be doing is, you know, placing those commandos in an aggressive position, using them to pressure your opponent on the first turn, and you want to set yourself up so on turn 2 you can call the wall, and your entire army can charge their entire army, and then you basically overwhelm them. And clearly it works pretty well, because Marcus Johnson took 5th in the event at 5-2. That's not the first orc we're going to be talking about today. We have a couple orcs to talk about. Orcs are actually kind of killing it right now, so congratulations to them. South Island Masters had a draw in the final round, I believe, between the top 2 players. This is only about a 20-player event, but Alex Whitacase took it down with an Emperor's Children plus Abaddon list, mostly focusing on Noise Marines, so 1, 2, 3, 4 units of Noise Marines, the 10 Chaos Terminators, a couple Bikers. We do have Havocs to get that Slanesh stratagem to auto 6 one of your dice rolls, a unit of Chaos Bikers with a couple Plasma Guns and a Power Fist, and then Abaddon the Despoiler. Pretty normal Emperor's Children stuff. Fair enough. Good things. Moving on, the Hertfordshire Winter GT was won by Necrons. Necrons still alive and kicking very much. I think we do have another X and 1 Necrons to talk about a little bit later. And this one's Nylock, actually. So we have we're starting to move away from Obsec Dynasty. We're moving to the naturally Obsec Dynasty. So Nylock, I believe we lose the pre-game move from Relentlessly Expansionist, but we get... What do we get in exchange? I've forgotten. We get ignoring AP1 while wholly within the controller's deployment zone. I'm going to be honest, it's not as good as a pregame move. But you do get their other abilities. You do get access to all of their self-action abilities. And you still get your objective secured. So that's okay. We have a Catacomb Command Barge, a Technomancer, 1 unit of Immortals, a big unit of Scarabs, big unit of Tomb Blades, very cool, with Particle Beamers, and Shadow Looms, 1 Locust Heavy Destroyer, and then that's and a Doom Scythe. That's important. Can't forget that guy. And that's followed up by a Vanguard detachment with looks like 2 more additional units of Tomb Blades, some Locust Destroyers. It's 4 and 1 Heavy Destroyer. A Canoptech Spider to repair all those Scarab Swarms. A unit of Scorpic Destroyers, 5 Flayed ones. A Chronomancer with Veil of Darkness, so we can veil that Locust Destroyer unit around, and the Silent King. So we're basically playing a similar build to our very favorite Obsec Dynasty, but it does make you a little bit more defensive against sort of aggressive pushes, and your backline objective holding units are a little bit stronger. So I guess that seems fine. It's a bit of a trade-off. You also get access to the double protocol ability. So when Eternal Guardian is active, you get both abilities. So you are you get light cover if you did not make a move, so that also works on the first turn as well. And if you go first, or if you go second, I guess, then it always is applied, because it only tracks if you have moved that battle round. So that's a little interesting. So instead of getting, I guess that kind of shores you up a little bit against going second. Which was a problem of the initial Necron lists, where going first you could play very aggressively, going second you kind of got hammered a little bit. Your secondaries were much worse, and this one just allows you to play more aggressively, and you get a little bit of a benefit from it. And then you're basically always considered to be within defensible terrain, are both directives that you get permanently, or you get when that protocol becomes active. Very cool. Nice to see a little bit of evolution from Necrons. Martin Wallace with Chaos Demons. I think these... we have Nurgle sort of popping out of the woodwork. It was a Nurgle list at my event over the weekend. That was the triple Great Unclean One, triple Soul Grinder list, which is really cool to see on the table. Very, very voluminous list, as it turns out. I think he played a Harlequins player on the table next to me. The Harlequins player was complaining that he couldn't physically get into his opponent. He took behind enemy lines, and the Nurgle player put too much stuff on the table to be able to actually fit his models in their deployment zone. So this is Bellicor, Horticulus Slamux, 1 unit of Plague Bearers, 1 unit of Beasts of Nurgle. Sick! So we do unlock the Nurgle abilities, and that's followed up by a second detachment. This one is a mixed detachment. We do have a Warlord Bloodthirster. He has Argath, the King of Blades, as he should. Devastating Blow to ignore those damage ignore abilities, and Indomitable Onslaught for the 8-wound face cap, alongside a Lord of Change. This one with the Impossible Robe and Master Mutator to do some additional damage with their psychic powers. We have a unit of Bloodletters and 2 units of Flamers. So not the full unit of flame, not the full 3 Flamers, and we have a Nurgle detachment. So this is pretty spicy, chat. I want to know how those Beasts of Nurgle did. Let me tell you, they're very annoying in Darktide. I haven't actually seen the current version of the Chaos Demons version on the table quite yet. Sam Bodger here playing Drukhari. He's running Cabal of the Blackheart in a patrol detachment, so I think we're probably a triple patrol composition. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Make use of those sweet free patrols that Drukhari get. Very handy. Yeah, Nurgle Mad in chat. Hell yeah, dude. these lists coming out of Chaos Demons right after your own heart. Let's see. We have a Court of the Archon, 3 Sliths, 4 Urgles, and a Hlamian. An Archon with probably Ancient Evil. Yeah, with Ancient Evil, so he has the fight last at the start of the fight phase. 1 unit of Kabalite Warriors, 2 units of Incubi, 5 Scourges with Shard Carbines, probably just to complete secondaries. A Ravager with 3 Dark Lances. Man, that is a callback. I haven't seen that Ravager on the table in ages. Oh my god. 1 Raider with a Dark Lance and 3 Venoms. Alongside that second patrol detachment coming out of an Artists of the Flesh. This is it. It's a blast in the past list. Drazar is the Warlord in this detachment with Hatred Eternal, 2 units of Rax, and 2 units of Grotesques. 5 Grotesques apiece. Alongside the third patrol detachment coming out of a custom Witch Cult with Precise Killers and Test of Skill. Test of Skill is +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles. Precise Killers, I don't actually know what that does, so let's find out together. That gives you Blade Artist, so the +1 AP on wound rolls of 6 instead on a 5+. So you can see, I guess that helps to offset the slight problem that Witch Cult units have against Armor of Contempt, where they're usually a sort of middling AP, and the Armor of Contempt kind of makes that really tough. But if you're getting an additional AP on 1/3 of your attacks, it's actually not too bad. Especially if you're also getting +1 to wound, and I assume that's unmodified, right? Yeah, unmodified 5+. We have, let's see, the Corsair Voids Guard unit in that with Fateful Divergence to get CP regen, 1 unit of Incubi, 1 big unit of Hellions, 7 Hellions, all told, alongside a Triptych Whip, Precision Blows, Succubus to turn some attacks into mortal wounds. Yeah, overall, pretty standard stuff. We have a lot of Venoms to keep Incubi and Kabalite Warriors in. We have these huge bricks of Grotesques that can push up the table and really hold down objectives and grab them, and then obviously all those Drukhari combat characters between Drazar, the Succubus, and the Fight Last Ancient Evil. He's also got Jin Blade on the Archon, so and he is a Master Archon, so he has the double attack once per game as well. So all the characters are pretty scary. We have a Raider even for that Court of the Archon as well. So I think pretty standard Drukhari stuff. Good to see Drukhari back in the saddle. I think they are certainly an army that benefits from strong play. The Leicester 40k Super Major was this weekend. I think this was over 100 players. They did do a cut to top 4, which made sort of determining, I guess, the top cuts pretty interesting. But the top 4 ended up being Vic BJ. Congratulations to Vic, taking it down with Zinch. This is the Zinch plus Rubric Marine plus Flamers list. So I talked about Liam Bissell for ages about this list, so I highly recommend you go check that episode out if you want to hear me talk about this list in particular. It's 17 Flamers, a Fate Skimmer, and then a Battalion Detachment out of Thousand Suns, Cult of Duplicity to get the redeploys. We have Ahriman, an Exalted Sorcerer, an Infernal Master, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units of Rubric Marines, mostly to generate massive numbers of Cabal points, and then you could use your Temporal Manipulation to double move them to run them up onto objectives and obsec them, and really just sort of start dumping Cabal points into that Aspiring Sorcerer to pile Mortal Wounds onto something. And then that, in addition to the Flamers, means you do a ton of damage at that close to medium range. All the while, you have Scarab Cult Terminators sitting in the back and just removing units wholesale. There's a 10-man unit of Scarab Cult Terminators. Or is it 10-man or 10... Dusty Skeleton unit of Scarab Cult Terminators with 2 Soul Reaper Cannon, Hellfire Missile Rack, Heavy Weapon Boys. Everyone else has Infernal Combi Bolters. And we have Empiric Guidance on that unit, so we can cast for the additional range if we need to. And then dump a bunch of CP to give them extra attacks, +1 to wound, +1 strength from the Infernal Master potentially, and just do massive amounts of damage. So good stuff. Yeah, we have talked about that list quite a bit in the past, and I think, especially even according to GW's own statistics, I haven't really talked about their last MetaWatch article too much, but they did point out that Tzeentch as a super faction is currently the highest rated army in the game, with a 70% win rate according to their results. It doesn't see a ton of play right now, but I'm sure that will pick up if Flamers don't change, I think, specifically. So it'll be interesting to see how that sort of evolves moving on to the future. Brian Seep with Orcs in second place. This is interesting because it is a very similar list to the one we just talked about, but it doesn't include the kill rigs. Instead, it's more of an infantry spam. So, excuse me, I'm gonna cough a little bit. Got a little bit of a dry throat. Excuse me, chat. So it has Zagstruck. It has the Beast Boss and Swigosaur. We do have a Brutal but Cunning Kill Claw War Boss, some Gretchen to get to good bits. So 40 total Gretchen. But then we just have tons of infantry, 20 commandos, 10 mega knobs, another unit of regular knobs. Those guys are truck boys, and we do have a truck to carry them around so they can move the truck and then disembark those guys and run to an objective and hammer somebody. 30 storm boys alongside 2 battle wagons, probably to keep those mega knobs in. So the idea of this list is very similar to the other one, but instead of leaning on the kill rigs, we're going to be leaning on our infantry and our mega knobs a little bit harder. And there's some benefits and drawbacks to this. This list doesn't shoot quite as well. We don't have guns on the battle wagons. There is a unit of Ludas, so we have a little bit of shooting, but obviously those kill rigs are pretty lethal. They have those auto-hitting D6 damage, big laser beams on the back that we are losing out if we're moving to the battle wagons. On the flip side, the list doesn't give up assassination quite as easily as the kill rig list. So the problem with those kill rigs is that they, having a weird boy on the back, basically they also get the character keyword, which means you can upgrade them with warlord traits and relics and things like that to kind of combo them out. But the downside, obviously, is that then they give up assassination. So the downside of that list is that oftentimes you're kind of edging towards giving up big no prisoners. There's some other kill focus secondaries that you give up, faction specifically, and then you also almost 100% of the time give up 15 points on assassination, which is a real problem for the kill rig list, I think. And you're trying to beat out your opponent on primary with this hyper aggression, but if they're able to sort of obsec you away because you don't have tons of obsec, you do have all the Gretchen obviously, but that's about it. Death Skulls, there is a Death Skulls version of this list that does have full army obsec, and that one is very difficult to steal objectives away from, but obviously it hits less hard, so there's a bit of a trade-off. But this list is basically looking to beat you out on primary. In this case, it's not giving up as many secondaries quite so much, but I think you do give up pretty good no prisoners, though. There's 40 Gretchen, 20 Commandos, so that's 60. The 2 units of Mega Knobs, they're 3 apiece, right? So that's 90. And 30 Storm Boys, so that's already 14 points on Bring It Down. Or on No Prisoners, plus all the knobs give up extra wounds. So I guess it's a trade. But it is easier to keep your Gretchen alive than it is to keep your kill rigs alive, to be fair. The Gretchen don't have to be running directly at your opponent. So really interesting to see a little bit of a difference, a little bit of variety in orcs, but very similar game plan to that the other one we talked about. Fushini, friend of the channel, and member of our Discord server over there, playing some Farsight Enclaves Tau. And we saw Fooch at London GT do very well with a similar Tau list. This one, we're moving to Riptide Battlesuits, chat. You love to see it. So Cold Star Commander. This is Exemplar of the Callion, so he's got your redeploys. 1 unit of Crew Carnivores, 2 Riptide Battlesuits on accelerators. A second patrol detachment from Farsight Enclaves. This one has Commander Farsight himself with Exemplar of the Montcad to give the battlesuits wound rerolls within 9 to 12 inches, depending on what your tactical philosophy is. A second commander. This is an Enforcer commander. He's got the Bagel Hunter's plate. Gonna go to New York, get some delicious pastries. And he is the Precision of the Hunter commander. So looks like 2 Cyclic Ion Blasters and a Plasma Rifle. And a Thermoneutronic Projector. Holy crap, all right. Don't mess with this guy. He'll beat you up. And then obviously having the Enforcer Battlesuit means that he can grant the Crisis Battlesuits objective secured, which is huge. A downside of this list is it tends to be pretty light on objective secured. We have 2 units of Crew Carnivores, and that's it. The rest of the list is either, there's 2 Sunshark Bombers to round things out, is either aircraft or a big vehicle that's only 1 or 2 models, depending on where your drones are. Whereas those Crisis Battlesuits are usually, oftentimes, sitting on a home objective, and that makes it very difficult to steal that objective away. Since you run OBSEC onto it, you grab it, and the Enforcer Commander, before you go to scoring, says to the Crisis Battlesuits, "Hey guys, why don't you be objective secured?" And you steal that objective away, and then your opponent has a little cry to themselves. So very cool, love it. I gotta put together my Riptide Battlesuit chat. I gotta give it a try. Last but not least here, I saw 1,000 Suns when I was first looking over the lists before the show, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is a mixed Zinch list, but we just misrecorded it as 1,000 Suns, but that's not the case. This is actually a legitimate 1,000 Suns army, and this is a real OG 1,000 Suns army chat. We have Ahriman, an Exalted Sorcerer, and an Infernal Master in the with the Umbrella Crystal. He uses that one to keep the rain off his head, alongside 3 units of Rubric Marines and the classic, so classic, 30 Scarab Occult Terminators. We got so many blasts from the past list, chat. This feels like we would be recording this show like 18 months ago, with all the with all the OG Drukhari lists, the OG 1,000 Suns lists. Good stuff. So just classic Scarab Occult Terminators. Just trying to push those Scarab Occult Terminators as far as we can. Yeah, mostly it's the Scarab Occult Terminator show. We're going to be pumping their guns full of damage. We have 6 Hellfire Missile Rack and Soul Reaper Cannon guys. We're just going to be trying to shoot people as much as possible. Cool. Congratulations to Jake Wilstrup for taking 4th in that event. The Cleveland Chainsword Championship. This one was I think about 40 players. Is this the one that I imagine that this is the one that Nurgle Matt was talking about, right? I think it must be. It must be. Brad Chester took this one down with Tyranids with a really interesting list. Let's click on it. So he was running Behemoth with naturalized camouflage. Which is an additional +1 while receiving the benefits of cover from a terrain feature. So tons of Tyranid Warriors in that. So they're going to go to a 2+ saving cover, which is pretty effective. I imagine that there must have been some pretty strong sort of naturally line of sight blocking terrain that you could tow in with those Tyranid Warriors to give them to make them very difficult to shoot at. There it is. All right, chat. We got confirmation. This is Nurgle Matt's event. Nurgle Matt. I don't see you at this top 3. What are you doing there, bud? We have a Neurothrope with Synaptic Tendrils, so he gets 2 uses of Warp Siphon, a Winged Hive Tyrant with Reaper of Obliterax and Adapted Biology. To get the 5+ damage ignore. 2 units of 5 Tyranid Warriors with Dual Bone Swords and Deathspitters. No Adrenal Glands in these guys. You don't really need it so much because they go to Strength 8 already with the Behemoth trait. But it is sometimes nice to have. A unit of Tyrant Guard with Rending Claws, 1 unit of Zone Thropes, 2 units of, or excuse me, 1 unit of Venom Thropes, 2 units of Zone Thropes, alongside a Parasite of Mortrex with Alien Cunning. So it gives you all the benefits that we just talked about of Death Leaper having, but obviously a little bit easier to shoot. But that move 16 with Alien Cunning is a pretty big deal. Single unit of Raveners with Rending Claws. They go to Strength 7 with their Rending Claws and the Behemoth trait, which is pretty effective. And you can apply +1 to wound on them. So they actually start to become pretty lethal to heavy armored enemies, which something like Kraken Raveners have a little bit of tough time with. You can charge Kraken Raveners into Space Marine Infantry or whatever, but they ping off vehicles pretty quickly because they need 5s to wound typically. But with the Behemoth trait and Psychic Power, they actually can start to clean up vehicles pretty well. We then have a unit of Biovores, drop some Spore Mines down, 2 units of Carnifexes with heavy Venom Cannons, and a Fortification Network with the Spore Assist. He put Territorial Instincts on this one. I wonder if that's like a... I wonder if that's a meme. Because the Spore Assist can't control objectives, so it doesn't matter if it has objectives secured. You also can't switch out your 2 adaptive traits. That's not how it works. There's different adaptive traits in both detachments. Yeah, I mean, the second one doesn't do anything, right? Like, I think that's just like a meme, right, chat? Because either one of these wouldn't affect the Spore Assist, so it literally doesn't matter what you put there. So who cares? Good stuff. Let's see, what else we got here? Genestealer Cults with 3-0-2. So this was 2 draws, which is hilarious. I don't know how that happens, but pretty sweet. We have a Vanguard detachment. This has Twisted Helix. I'm gonna have to brush up on my non-custom Genestealer Cult attachments, chat. So +1 strength, move, and stalwart. So it can only be wounded on a 3+. We have an Acolyte Icon Ward. Brings some people back to life. A Magus, 1 unit of Acolyte Hybrids. Looks like that is just a 5-man hand flamer unit. A 2nd unit of Acolyte Hybrids. I do apologize, chat. This list was horribly formatted. We had to go back and reformat it, which is a little bit tough. So it looks like another unit of 5 with hand flamers, and then so 1 unit of 5 with hand flamers, 1 unit of 5. Looks like 10 with a couple heavy rock drills and 5 hand flamers, and then 1 additional unit with hand flamers and lying in wait. Elite slot, we have a Biophagus, 1 unit of 10 Metamorphs, hot damn, 1 Keller Morph with Worm Tooth rounds, 2 units of Pure Strain Genestealers, absolutely love it. One of them they came from below, so the pregame move, an Acolyte Ridge Runner. Looks like it is a unit of 3, in fact, so the old school big Acolyte Ridge Runner unit with flare launchers and mining lasers. A unit of Adelan Jackals. Looks like a big unit of Adelan Jackals, so I think that's a full unit of 10 with wolf quads attached. So we're going to be bringing these folks back to life. Is that right? 10? 7 and... This is hard to read. I apologize, chat. I think it's 7 and 2 wolf quads. So it must be 9, right? I think that's what this says. Whatever. We'll go with 9. Plus 3 Goliath trucks probably to carry those metamorphs in. Can you put the Pure Strain Genestealers in the Goliath truck, chat? That seems like a pretty good place for them, actually. It's called keyword infantry models, which includes pre-trained Genestealers. So no reason you couldn't. Man, those Genestealers are very well behaved. just lead them all into the transport. Get in there, guys. You're imagining like the Icon hordes like shepherding them in with the big stick. All right, sweet. So we got one for Acolyte Hybrids, one for Metamorphs, and one for pre-trained Genestealers. The other one gets the pre-game move, and they can run up and charge somebody on turn 1 and pin your opponent near their deployment zone. Where can you buy a codex for Deathcore? There is not a codex for Deathcore currently, chat. There are rules in the Imperial Armor Compendium, I believe, but it's unknown how the Deathcore, the old Deathcore rules will interface with the new codex. I think that the new codex is probably gonna. I imagine Deathcore will get reworked with the new codex. You can play Deathcore in the new codex. You can pick regimental traits that are very Deathcore adjacent, and you can play literal Deathcore infantry squads that are actually pretty sweet. They're very tanky compared to the normal. We're on to, speaking of Astra Militarum chat. We're on to, speaking of Astra Militarum chat. We're on to new Astra Militarum. Let's go. And we get to delete some Slanesh bots. Get out of here. Certainly hope you could put Genestealers in the trucks. Yeah, it'd be awkward if, yeah. I'm glad I'm not the way to find out your opponent is. Your normal opponent is cheating. All right, chat. So Josh Gilbert, who it sounds like is in the chat. So if I make any mistakes on new Astra Militarum rules, I'm sure that you can correct me. So we are running some sort of detachment with some sort of sub-faction ability. I imagine it's just Born Soldiers. I would suspect, I guess. We have a tank commander with Gatekeeper. 3 units of shock troopers, so Cadian shock troops, I imagine, right? Not just normal infantry squads. Alongside 2 commissars in the elite slots. So the commissars do have some pretty impressive orders that they can issue out to infantry squads specifically, unless you upgrade them with a warlord trait. Superior tactical training, I think, gives you the ability to issue orders to other units. But normally it's they can issue to infantry or infantry characters. They can also order your auxiliaries, so things like Ogren, if you have them, which I don't believe that this list does. No. So it's 2 commissars. They give you access to
It's me with my list.
Advance and shoot as an order. They give you access to I think, objective secured as an order, fall back and shoot as an order, perform actions when falling back or advancing, and you can set to hold. You can set to defend, or you can hold steady. Excuse me, to charges, and enemies cannot set up within 12 inches for reinforcement. So that does actually give you a little bit of a counter tool against flamers. So Zinj Flamers, if you have that order active, you do have to do it in your command phase, and then it applies until your next command phase. Actually cannot interact with the unit that is affected by the order. So if you can screen pretty heavily with 1 unit of shock troopers, you can actually screen out a lot of the table, which is pretty cool. And then you also get +1 leadership and a buff against mortal wounds. So I guess at the same time, if you are screening with one of those shock troop units, then you're sort of also a little bit defended against incoming smites. 3 Scout Sentinels with las cannons and fast attack. The Scout Sentinels, I think, are kind of a breakout from this new codex. They're so efficient for what you get for them, which is absolutely phenomenal. And then heavy support, things go absolutely off the rocker. So it looks like a big Lehman Russ squadron, 1 standard Lehman Russ with a plasma cannon. It sounds like the plasma cannon also has generally widely been accepted to be the best one, right? That's the what's it called? The incinerator plasma cannon, is that right? What's the one? What's the turret plasma cannon on a Lehman Russ called? Show me Lehman Russ codex. Let's go. I can't find the Lehman Russ entry. Chat, what am I doing wrong? God damn. went right over it. It is an Executioner Plasma Cannon, excuse me. Yeah, so it's a heavy D6 plus 3. The big benefit is that of having these blast weapons on the Leman Russ is that you do have an order from the officers, and we do have, I think, yeah, we have one Leman Russ with the tank ace to be upgraded to an officer, and we do have one tank commander with Gatekeeper in the HQ slot. To count enemy units as double their size for the purposes of a blast weapon ability. So if you are shooting at a 5 or a 6 model unit, I guess, if you're affected by that order, it maxes your plasma cannon shots. So you're actually firing 9 shots, either at strength 7 AP for 2 damage or strength 8 AP for 3 damage, which is pretty cool. In addition to multi-meltas and las cannons on the sponsons. There's a second Leman Russ in there. This one with the tank ace upgrade for, I think that's called, I don't know, it's like Faith and Fury or something. That gives you an invulnerable save and mortal wound ignore. Knight of Piety, excuse me. What a great name. We have a second Leman Russ squadron, another 2 Leman Russ in here, one with a Punisher cannon, one with a plasma cannon, and the third Leman Russ squadron. So 6 total Leman Russ plus the tank commander. You love to see it. With a Vanquisher cannon, 2 heavy bolters, and then the last Leman Russ with a battle cannon and the officer upgrade. So a little bit of a longer range gun to sit in the back and issue orders to the other tanks. Last but certainly not least, 2 chimeras to keep some of these characters and shock troops in. Hell yeah! This is a list after I think after an Imperial Guard player's own heart, right? Just tons of Leman Russ sitting on the table. Josh Gilbert with the super chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Officers are a single model sitting chimeras for inflexible command. That makes total sense. I get that. Sweet. I love it. Yeah, Commissars actually, they were so unplayable in the old Codex, but they do seem like, in addition to the Scout Sentinels, which to be fair, we're already seeing play, the Commissars I think are the other kind of breakout hit. Just for the amount of buffs that they give out, the fact that they are 40 points for a single character model, and they're just like a good platform to give out buffs, I think, that are in the elite slot, so they don't compete with your other HQs and your tank commanders and things like that. All right. Webway Games Invitational. This is actually local to me. Daniel Woolmuth won this one with Yanari. Pretty classic MSU style Yanari build, and I think I commentated a similar list like this previously a little while ago. 1 Warlock Skyrunner, the Incarn, a Farseer Skyrunner. This is Kurna's Bow and Mark of the Incomparable Hunter. So the wombo combo to do 2 mortal wounds on a 6 to wound with your little gun. 2 units of Rangers, a Harlequin Troop, 10 models, alongside a Witch Squad. 2 units of Howling Banshees, 1 with Piercing Strikes, 1 with Crone Scream. A unit of Striking Scorpions with Crushing Blows. I think this is sort of sensing a pattern here from all the Craft World lists. 1 unit of Warlock Skyrunners, 1 unit of just regular Warlocks, a big unit of 5 Wind Riders with Scatter Lasers, so a little bit longer range, and they can kind of usually sit behind a piece of terrain and just peek out, shoot, and then battle focus back in. Unit of Swooping Hawks, unit of Shining Spears, 3 Shining Spears with Kane's Lance, the Paragon Saber, and Heart Strike. So trying to do, getting full rerolls in the Paragon Saber and then doing mortal wounds from Heart Strike. Kane's Lance to force people to fight last and a 4+ when you charge them. Alongside a Warwalker, an auxiliary support detachment to get Bahareth in the list. Obviously, you can't take him in a Yanari detachment because the Incarn, I guess, doesn't like the competition. But you can take them in a non-Yanari detachment that's just regular Craft Worlds alongside a Webway Gate. Good stuff. Classic. I've streamed a lot of Daniel's games, so if you want to see almost exactly this list play, I have a ton of games I think recorded with him. So you can go back through my live stream games on this channel, and you should be able to find some. And I think over on TacticalTortoise as well. The Warhound at Game Grid. I wonder if they gave away a Warhound. They must have, right, chat? Game Grid over here. Derek Holder, 5-0 with Adeptus Custodes. Hell yeah. This is an Emissaries Imperatus. So that is... I was about to say Advance and Shoot, but that's Solar Watch. What do we got for emissaries here, chat? So they get fight first and ignore attack modifiers. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that. Their stratagem allows you to pre-game move 9 inches away from enemies, but it's very expensive, so I don't know how often you use that. We do have a shield captain with the Castellan's Mark and Swift as the Eagle, which I am going to have to look up. This is a lot of new stuff, chat, today. We not only got a new, an entirely new codex that we're talking about, but also so many sub-factions I have to look up that I haven't seen in ages. So that's the ability to advance and charge. And this is just a standard shield captain as well, so just move 6. So that does give him a little bit of additional movement. Trajan Valoris. Very nice. 1 unit of prosecutors, 2 units of Sagittarium custodians. Nice thing here, obviously, is they can advance and double shoot, and they ignore all the penalties thanks to emissaries, which is pretty cool. So normally they'd be hitting on 3s, and even if you give them hit buffs, they would sort of ignore them because they'd be millions of minuses to hit. But they just ignore all of those thanks to the emissary subfaction ability. 2 individual Alaris custodians with ballistic grenade launchers. 2 Contemptor Aculos dreadnoughts. Interesting not to see the venerable Contemptors. We are seeing the Aculos maybe come back a little bit. A Vexillus Praetor with a Vexilla Defensor, so the light cover buff. Get a little +1 save action going on, alongside 2 units of Virtus Praetors with salvo launchers and a Caladius Grav Tank with accelerator cannons. All right, that seems pretty solid. I think a little bit of a focus on shooting to make use of that emissary ability. It feels like a little bit of a side grade from the normal Emperor's Chosen. You lose the 4+ mortal wound ignore, which is a little bit sad. But I guess if you're trying to fight through things like Black Rune of Damnation, ignoring attack roll modifiers is actually a huge deal. So that's probably pretty effective. We do have an Astra Militarum here. And this is new Astra Militarum, so we get to talk about this list. Very exciting. Excuse me, chat. So we have Supreme Command Detachment with Lord Solar Leontis. Here he comes. I did a short about this guy. He's an absolute Chad. He's pretty decent stats by himself. I mean, he's like fine. Not too much to write home about, but he does have damage, I believe. So he's kind of hard to kill, and he's 8 wounds, I think. So he's a little bit of a Morven Vol energy. But most importantly, he has a full reroll for a core unit, hit and wound. And I believe if you point it at a tank, it gets hit rolls, if I remember correctly. And then on top of that, he also gets 3 orders out of any of the order trees. So he almost by himself just removes the need to take anybody else to order. We then have a command squad with an Ogren bodyguard, 2 units of infantry squads, 2 Kazarkin squads. So I made a little bit of when we first talked about the codex when it was initially leaked. This was on Twitch. I talked a little bit about Kazarkin squads and how I thought that one of the coolest combos in the codex ended up being a sort of Kazarkin kind of stratagem dump. And it turns out that ended up being very strong. So the full wombo combo of effects is obviously Lord Solar Leontis gives you full rerolls, hit and wound. You can then use the order for +1 attack on your hotshot glass guns. So your regular guns are shooting 3 times. There is a stratagem, so your unmodified wound rolls of 6 do an additional mortal wound. And because GW hasn't learned yet, you're currently, this might get changed because it got changed in Leagues of Votann, if you have born soldiers, with which this detachment does have, your 6s to hit that convert over to automatic wounds also count as 6s to wound, which means they trigger the stratagem. I think it's called overcharged power cells. Is that right? Overcharged las cells. Excuse me, chat. My bad. I was close. So your 6s to hit, your +1 attack, So I think the 2 volley guns, I believe, shoot 4 times. You have the 1 marksman rifle, it's kind of funky, and then 7 guys shooting, or 6 guys shooting 3 times. So you're shooting a total of like 28 shots. Your 6s to hit automatically wound. They hit, they automatically wound, and they deal a mortal on top. And you get full rerolls to hit and wound, probably hitting on 3s or 4s, and then wounding on, I don't know, 5s or whatever. So it's almost 30 attacks. You're almost guaranteed to get 6 mortal wounds through, and it only costs you 1 CP, an order, and Lord Solar Leonta's ability, and 100 points. So you can sort of like just trade these guys up dramatically. You know, you shoot in, they're pretty high AP because they're hotshot weapons. They can dive out of cover. They can shoot like 3 or 4 Terminators to death. Dramatically, trade up dramatically for their points cost. Your opponent has to kill them. They're kind of hard to kill. 4+ save, probably in light cover or something. And then you just go from there. So I think Khazarkins ended up being kind of a sleeper hit, which I appreciate. I actually am kind of excited to see more Khazarkins on the table because I think they're one of my favorite models in all of 40k. And the new kit's very cool. One thing I did notice about the new kit, though, but if we brought it up here, is that I noticed that only 1 model in the kit was actually shooting its gun, which I was a little bit upset about. Where's the kit? Where's the new Khazarkin kit? Despicable, chat. I can't find it anywhere. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So, here it is from Warhammer Community. So, I noticed that out of all of the guys in this kit, we have the DMR guy who's shooting his gun, which is great, and we have the pistol guy who's shooting his gun, and then none of the guys with las guns are actually firing their weapons, which I was a little bit less excited about having realized that. I don't know if there's multiple ways to assemble these guys. It does look like, is this specifically the DMR? It looks like maybe a couple of them can assemble their guns so they're actually firing, but I was a little bit like, what's going on there, guys? Come on, make your models shoot. It looks more fun when they're actually doing stuff with their guns and not just standing there awkwardly, but whatever, it is what it is. That said, the models are still cool, so I'm excited that Khazarkin are good. The rest of this detachment is a Death Strike missile launcher, 1 Lehman Russ with an Executioner plasma cannon, and 2 Scout Sentinels with las cannons. A little bit of overlap from Josh Gilbert's list. We have a 2nd patrol detachment, this one with a tank commander with Gatekeeper, platoon squad, 1 infantry squad, 3rd unit of Khazarkins, and a heavy weapon squad with mortars, and 1 more Lehman Russ with an Executioner. So 2 regular Lehman Russ and a tank commander. Yeah. Plus Lord Solar, 3 infantry squads, 3 Khazarkin squads, and Scout Sentinels. I guess Lord Solar also, he can order the Order Profectus orders, so he can actually give the Khazarkins objective secured as well, which is kind of sick. Good stuff. 6 mortal wounds per unit targeted, so they can do 12 to 18 if spread over 3 units. I guess that makes sense. What about Custodes? Literally just talked about Custodes, chat. Like literally 5 minutes ago. There's another stratagem to make auto wounds on 5 up. Oh, yes. Yeah, I forgot to talk about that one too, chat. Yeah. That makes sense. So yeah, so you're auto winning on 5 ups. So you probably split like 9 shots per unit. You should get 3 auto wounds, which automatically convert. You reroll 6 more into 2 more 5 ups. So you should get 5 wounds through, and then you probably naturally roll 1 wound with a 6 up. So yeah, you probably just automatically convert 6 immortal wounds into 2 to 3 units that you do. That's pretty good. Yeah. Real strong. I actually, man, it seems real broken, chat. To be honest, it is a 2 CP investment and a 170 point character, like, to be fair. But also, I think Khazarkin are so cool that I don't know. I just want it to work out. I just want it to work well. I would play a Khazarkin list, chat. I played Death Watch Intercessors back in the day for that like shock trooper feel, so I could play a bunch of dudes with auto bolt rifles and breach into terrain pieces and stuff. And I just want that. I want that archetype back, and I hope Kazir can give it to me. Adam Baker playing some Chaos Knights. Good old Chaos Knights. I think this is a House Herpatrax list. Is that the case? It is House Herpatrax, so we get the extra wounds and damage ignore. A Knight Abominant with Blessing of the Dark Master for the Trans Hitman. A Knight Desecrator alongside 2 Brigands, 2 Executioners, and 3 Stalkers. Sweet. Good stuff. Nice to see Chaos Knights doing a little bit well this week as well, chat. I know they've been kind of absent recently, but we got there. Oh, dude, dudes, do you have the old lead ones that are like have the funky like welding masks, or do you have the ones from like 2001 that are just the greatest models Games Workshop has ever made? Let's find some OG Kazirkin chat. I'm gonna find a good picture of them. All these pictures are grainy. I bet there's like a super sweet Kazirkin file I can 3D print. Which I'd be so into. I'd run the fuck out of a Kazirkin list. Google, give me a good picture. What the fuck? This is the worst. Every picture is like 200 pixels of these things. They're so old that no one has a good picture of them anymore. Oh, the old Inquisitorial Stormtroopers? Oh no, those guys are so silly looking. No. Where are you guys? Let's see. All right, I watched a battle report one time where somebody was running Tempestus Scions, obviously, like after they were turned from Kazirkin into Scions, and here we go. There's the old Inquisitorial Stormtroopers. Incredible. What a flawless model with no issues. I love this guy's legs. Like his torso is tiny, right? His torso is like 18 inches tall, and his legs are like 6 feet. He's so top heavy, or he's so like bottom heavy. He's like his arms almost just connect to his hips. Incredible. So good. All right, where's the OG Kazirkin though? I have to find them, chat. Computer Kazirkin. These are probably one of the models that like originally got me into 40k. Where's the whole kit? Oh, like I said, all these images are like so small. All right, here we go. Open image. Look at these guys, chat. Look at this glory. What a freaking unit. Oh my god, they look so good, dude. And like I was just talking about the more recent Kazirkin unit, they're all shooting their guns at someone. Like they're active. The models look like they're doing something. Just flawless. Just actually flawless. Yeah, I almost straight up just started an Imperial Guard army just to play these models back in the day. The new ones look good, but man, gotta be shooting your gun. There, Kazirkin dude. Where you can get the STL? I bet there's a good STL somewhere. Combo super broken for 100 points. Need to make the strat only do 6 mortal wounds total. Get rid of auto wounds equals 6s. Yeah, I think that's like... I appreciate that. Like, GW just made that change to Leagues of Votann. And then they already have released a codex that went back, that rolled it back and has the same combo in it. And you're just like, come on, guys. But I think that's probably why, I guess, the semi-official stance is that you're not supposed to be able to play them. We currently don't allow them in T5S2 either, and at least for the time being. Hotshot and prepping for your first GT Everwinter. Oh, hey, I'll see you there. Nice. Any tips on what you need to do or look out for? Do you mean like from a meta standpoint? Figure out how to kill flamers. That's a big one. That's a big one, I think. But in general, stay hydrated. Bring a snack. I used to bring fruit, but like, you know, energy bars are good too. Anything that just like keeps you going through games. And then, so sometimes there's like, especially day one, there's like a day one burnout where like you're at round 3 and like the games are typically very difficult at GT level. And you're just like falling asleep at your table. So you keep yourself hydrated, drink tons of water, drink some snacks. That helps a ton. Do the inverse. Give auto wounds R6s to everyone. It's such a narrow range of things that it benefits, right? You have to have an ability that triggers on your 6 to wound, and you have to have a Dream Not Right ability. I don't know who has both of those. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, figure out how to turn up Overwatch to kill flamers. Certainly helps, definitely. All right, Olympus Tour Championship. Let's move on. We got some orcs to talk about. This is another Goff's list. Let's see. Zagstruck, Warboss, and Megan Armor. Big unit of Beast Snagga Boys, probably to go into Kill Rig, I imagine. 1 unit of Gretchen. 5 Commandos, 5 Mega Knobs, 5 Storm Boys, 1 Battle Wagon, 1 Kill Rig, 2nd Patrol Detachment, 2 more units of Beast Snagga Boys, Beast Boss and Squigosaur, 4 more Mega Knobs, 2 units of Squig Hog Boys, and 2 more Kill Rigs. Is this 3 Kill Rigs? Hot damn, chat. 3 Kill Rigs and a Battle Wagon. That is a classic, the classic Goff's list. I love it. I think a lot of people moved away from the 3rd Kill Rig because they probably had like sort of diminishing returns on the 3rd one. But man, that 3rd Kill Rig feels real strong sometimes. Very cool. Very similar to the other list we just talked about. Heroes of the mid-table. Ooh, only 3 events to talk about. We have a little bit more Astra Militarum to jump in on here. Alex McDougall with a Forces of the Hive Mind list. So this is, yeah, a mix of Kraken and Genestealer Cults with a Spore Assist in there somewhere. So we have a battalion detachment out of Kraken using the Kraken adaptive trait still. So mostly I think to get the stratagem. You lose your Synaptic Imperatives, obviously, by souping, but if you're not full Tyranids, that means you also don't have to really like necessarily build for them. And they only affect a portion of your army anyway, so you're not that worried about it. You have a Neurothrope. That is correct, right, chat? I'm actually just going to double check real quick. I just sort of said that off the cuff, and now I'm second guessing myself. Yeah, if every unit from your army has Hive Tendril. It's not if every unit is a Tyranid. It's if everyone is from a Hive Tendril. So you do lose it souping. We have a Neurothrope. I think that is not the case for Crossfire, right? They made that to check for Tyranids only. Nope, just kidding. You also lose Crossfire markers. Okay. All right. Well, that is a lot of faction abilities to lose. Clearly it worked out. So I guess kudos to Alex McDougall. Behemoth Warlord trait plus Seer Hive on a Trigon Prime if auto wounding equals a 6. So that's to do mortal wounds in addition, and then Seer Hive auto wounding. I mean, I guess that does seem pretty okay. And then, but then you can't get the like +2 to charge thing. It's probably fine. I would probably play a Trigon Prime, I guess, if that was on the table for sure. All right, I see it. Yeah. All right, what do we got? We got a Neurothrope with direct guidance. We got a Winged Hive Tyrant with Reaper of Obliterax, 3 units of Tyranid Warriors, 1 of 4, 2 of 5, all with Adrenal Glands. 1 unit of Tyrant Guard, 1 unit of Venom Thropes, 1 unit of Zone Thropes, 2 units of Raveners, Scything Talons, and Rending Claws. So that's like sort of the onboard detachment. And then we have 3 units of Acolyte Hybrids, just with pistols and swords. Nothing too exciting there. A Magos, 1 unit of Pure Strength Genestealers with the Came From Below, so the pregame move. Put a little bit of pressure on your opponent. I actually kind of like this combo. The Pure Strength Genestealers do sort of pull a lot of focus from the rest of the list. You have to deal with them. If you go first, which Tyranids actually I have been finding ends up having a little bit of they struggle a little bit going first because they don't typically do too much on the first turn unless you're playing like Harpies or something, but then oftentimes you're just sending your Harpies to their death and you're wasting 500 points of your army. But the Pure Strength Genestealer going first means that you kill something probably. You also get to you don't have to worry about Recover the Relic since you have a pregame move, which is pretty exciting. So they get to kill something. They pull a lot of focus from the rest of your army, and that lets you move forwards sort of under the screen of the Pure Strength Genestealers, and then you're in range with the Raveners and the Warriors on turn 2, which actually does seem like a pretty reasonable combo. So that might be worth losing the all of the faction abilities. And then 1 Spore Assist to generate some Spore Mines. Nice. That's good stuff. Seems pretty solid. We have an Adepta Sororitas, Bloody Rose, a Canoness Morvenval, 3 units of Battle Sisters, a unit of 7 Sacrosancts, 2 Death Cult Assassins, 24 Sisters Repentia, and a Dogmata, 3 units of Zephyrim, 1 of 10, 2 of 5, 2 Retributor Squads. There are 10 model Retributor Squads. We don't have a Hospitaller in this list, I don't believe. Oh, we do. Just kidding. Missed it totally. There's a Repentia Spear and a Hospitaller in there. So we can regenerate those Retributors to try to keep those multi-melts alive. To use double Armorium Cherubs and a Rhino. Just a regular Rhino. Probably keep a Sisters Repentia unit in there or a Retributor Squad, whichever we need to push up the table with that Rhino pregame move ability. But pretty classic Bloody Rose stuff. Nice to see the 10 model Retributor Squads making a comeback. But congratulations to Brendan McKenzie there. And then we did have more Necrons to talk about. Liam Bath with Necrons at 4 and 1 for this event. Running Relentlessly Expansionist Eternal Conquerors, Obsec Dynasty, the Silent King in this detachment, and a Supreme Command, excuse me. Alongside an Outrider. Ooh, this time we're focusing on Canoptic Wraith. That's a little different. We do have a unit of 10 Lich Guard. So when standing next to the Silent King, they do get access to, obviously he has his +1 to hit. They have the +1 attack strat as long as they're standing next to a noble, and then he gives them full wound rerolls. So they become a very, very dangerous melee combatant, in addition to Scorpec Destroyers. So it looks like 3 Scorpecs in a unit. 2 units of 5 Canoptic Wraiths. Love to see those on the table because they are actually a little bit tanky, which can create some problems from people. 2 Locust Destroyers, 1 of 3 Locust Heavies, 1 of 1. The 3 Locust Heavies are probably to still use Extermination Protocols to get full rerolls on their guns, shots, if we need to. So I guess like you can full reroll one of the units, and then the other unit you can use Techno-Oracular Targeting to ensure that it wounds with its gun. So you can actually basically just convert all 4 Heavy Destructor unit shots every turn for 2C or for 3 CP, which seems pretty solid. That's the second patrol attachment with a Lord, 5 Immortals, a Catan Shard of the Void Dragon. Okay, cool. I wonder if that's a meta game pick there, because there are some factions that just fold to the Shard of the Void Dragon. If you are focusing on vehicle heavies, especially if you only focus on one. You operate mostly in one phase, the Void Dragon's an absolute nightmare for you. I know when Orc Buggies were very popular, the Void Dragon also saw more popularity because he could just wade into an army of Orc Buggies and just continue to heal off of killing them and then be phase capped and then heal again, and he would be invincible. And then we have another Locust Heavy Destroyer. So 5 Heavy Destroyers sitting in the back. That's brutal. All providing covering fire for 10 Wraiths and 10 Lich Guard. This is a cool list, chat. This is a little bit different than you normally see. Lots of 4+ invulnerable saves, lots of heavy shooting. Wouldn't want to rock up with a gunline army against this because you're just going to take a ton of damage. All right, last two here. Mary Slaneshmus was won by Leagues of Votann. We can talk about a little bit of Votann here today, chat. What do we have? Ymir Conglomerate. So that's 4 additional inches of range on your ranged weapons, +1 AP against units with judgment tokens on them. And everything gets an invulnerable save, either 5+ for the little stuff, or if you already have a 2+ save, you get a 4+ invulnerable, which only really matters against AP 4, but still pretty nice to have. We have a Brokir Forge Master with Master Armorer, so he gives you max healing and can get rid of a one successfully converted wound on a vehicle every turn. A Grimnir with Murmuring Stave to let them do an action and cast a spell, as well as a Khal. We have 3 units of Hearthkin Warriors with meta packs, 3 units of Chthonian Berserks with Mauls, no other upgrades on those guys, 2 units of Hernkin Pioneers, and 2 Hecaton Land Fortresses. Okay, fair enough. So 4 Ion Beamers on those guys, and a Heavy Conversion Beamer on the top. So we get access to the beam stratagem on Ymir, for Ymir Conglomerate, so they can do mortal wounds in addition to damage with their beam weapons, which we can use in conjunction with the Heavy Conversion Beamers. Cool. Good stuff. Congratulations. Is that the first X and O from Leagues of Votann we've had? We had a lot of X and 1s previously, right? Oh, we had a... that's a 5-1. Oh, we had a 6-0 2 weeks ago. Just kidding. Well, Leagues of Votann certainly making their impact. Congratulations to Nicholas. Steve Trimble with a Chaos Army. This is a little interesting. It is a Death Guard detachment, 2 Malignant Plague Casters, and a ton of Plague Marines. Nurgle Matt, I hope you're still in chat because this is an army after your own heart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units of Plague Marines. With all the upgrades on them, those are 10 Plague Marines apiece, so 60 Plague Marines. Plus a Putrefier, Foul Blight Spawn, Tallyman, 1 Chaos Spawn, and then Abaddon in there to give the buffs to for Chaos units. So they all get reroll 1s, and they all get +1 to charge. And that's basically what we're using to deliver them. We don't have transports for them. We don't really have that much shooting. They provide the shooting themselves. We do have the Tallyman, but no Tollkeeper, I guess. So we don't have Exploding Sixes. But the Tallyman can give them +1 to hit, which is pretty useful. We do have a Foul Blight Spawn to prevent incoming attacks from hitting you. There you are. There you are, Nurgle-Mad. Hell yeah. And we have the Biologus Putrefier, who I believe allows them, upgrades their grenades. Is that right? That's right? I'm going to double check your chat. Yeah, it gives their grenades +1 AP and +1 damage within 6 inches. And then allows them to do mortal wounds with plague weapons once per turn. There's a unmodified 6 turns into a mortal wound. So there you go. There's another ability that triggers on wound rolls of 6. Nailed it. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. So we have all the buffs from the Malignant Plague Casters. Obviously, they can sit in the middle of the brick, and if you come in and engage them, the Plague Casters can be spitting mortal wounds out within 7 inches, which can certainly help. You get tons of rerolls from Abaddon. You get the charge bonuses from Abaddon and the damage buffs from the Biologus Putrefier and the attack buff from the Tallyman. And it's tough to engage into thanks to the Foul Blight Spawn. So if you can't shoot 120 wounds of objective secured infantry with -1 damage to death at T5, they just overrun you. What are you going to do? They're going to kill you. They also have, it looks like they have plasma guns and double melta guns in each unit too, which is a pretty decent shooting at close range. So this is cool. Seems pretty legit. We have Donald Plummer here. What do we got? Tau Sept with Commander Shadow Sun. She is the Warlord and has Exemplar of the Kalyan, so she's sourcing our redeploy. Crude Hounds, a Crude Shaper with EM Scrambler, which I believe is going to restrict deep strikes to 12 inches. Is that right? Yeah, reinforcements cannot be set up within 12, and within 6 you can get rid of aura abilities. But mostly I think it's going to be that 12-inch deep striking reduction. Again, that's some technology to fight against flamers. We have the Crude Hounds who are already going to be able to do it, and then the Crude Shaper can do it as well a little bit. Sort of standing behind where those hounds would end up being. And then, so they would eat maybe any attacks that would normally go to him. But generally speaking, you're going to make yourself pretty difficult to deep strike on. We have a Cold Star Commander with Precision of the Hunter. He does have Vectored Retro Thruster, or Vectored Maneuvering Thrusters, excuse me. That is Dominator Fragmentation Launcher, High Outburst Burst Cannon, Plasma, and 2 Plasma Rifles. Long Strike in that detachment, 1 unit of Breachers, 1 unit of Carnivores. Big unit of Crisis Battlesuits, 6 Crisis Battlesuits in total, 2 Riptide Battlesuits, and 2 Sunstrike Bombers. So pretty normal stuff. We do have an Astra Militarum here. We are on new Astra Militarum, so we get to talk about this one. And this is another one. Josh Gilbert, if you're still in chat, you probably appreciate this one, because it is all Leman Russ battle tanks. So 2 tank commanders with the world's newest railgun equivalent, a Vanquisher battle cannon. A heavy bolter, so no sponsored mounts on those guys. A commissar with superior tactical training. So this is what I was talking about earlier. This allows you to grant the commissar an additional track of orders that they can issue. So they can issue orders from a second list of orders instead of the ones they would normally be ordering when they go to issue an order. In this case, it looks like he's ordering infantry orders. So we're going to be probably buffing the mortar teams with that guy, but you can also give him the mechanized orders, and he can be ordering for Leman Russ, which is pretty cool. But 2 tank commanders is probably enough to deal with the Leman Russ anyway. And then 9 Leman Russ. Easy. Ta-da. So that is Executioner Plasma Cannons and 3 Heavy Flamers. All these guys. There's 1 Vanquisher Battle Cannon and a Heavy Bolter at the bottom there. So we have 3 Vanquishers that can sit in the back, and then 7 Plasma Cannon and Heavy Flamers to sit in the front. Does the Vanquisher Cannon ignore invulnerable saves? I believe that it does. And it does, I'll just verify real quick. And it does also shoot mortal wounds on top of you on a successful wound roll. Yeah, so the Vanquisher Battle Cannon, it's 1 shot, 72-inch range, strength 14, AP 5, D3 plus 6 damage. Invulnerable saves cannot be made, and the target suffers D3 mortal wounds in addition to normal damage. There you have it, chat. Almost literally a railgun, which is cool. And then we're also running Expert Sharpshooters, which gives you a Master Artisan's hit reroll on everything. So those Vanquisher Cannons are getting the hit bonus from being a turret weapon. Can fire out of melee, obviously, and then also can reroll their hit roll if they need to. And then if you don't end up needing it on the Vanquisher Cannon shot, you can use that reroll on the Heavy Bolter if you need to. The other benefit here is Armored Superiority, so that counts all of the Leman Russ's 5 models and holding objectives. And then you can use one of the orders. What's it called? It is called Shock and Awe to give the Leman Russ objective secure. And so they basically become like Armigers with that combo, where they're 5 models OBSEC, which is where you're going to be sourcing your OBSEC in this one. And for like dealing with, what is 11 Leman Russ? Not a lot of armies can do that and also steal your objectives away. So I'm not too surprised this went 5-1. Yeah. Like Free Breeze went 5-1 at Leicester G2 as Death Guard. Only lost final round to Harlequins. No! Like Free Breeze, I'm sorry to hear about that. Harlequins, he never likes to lose against Harlequins. They are so strong though, it's tough. Did they just danced around? You couldn't catch them? Yeah, Cries in Space Marine. Yeah, I do think we're probably going to see Astra Militarum being able to sort of, if you're playing a straight up game plan where your plan is to beat your opponents in a straight up fight, Astra Militarum are just going to shoot you to death. I mean, that's sort of always been the case, right? And I do feel a little bit for Space Marines. Not really sure how Space Marines end up, fighting through that, but we'll see. We have some more Adeptus Custodes to talk about. So Hotshot 121, just looking back in there. If you want to tune back in, we got Adeptus Custodes right here from James Lee. This is, let's see, Emperor's Chosen. So we're getting our reroll and our 4+ against mortal wounds. We have a Knight Centura. Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle Jetbike with Superior Creation and Tip of the Spear. So get his rerolls. And 5-up damage ignore. 2 units of Custodian Guard. These are just Guardian Spears. Alongside 1 unit of Prosecutors, 2 Venerable Contemptor Dreadnoughts, as we've seen before with multi-meltas. Maybe, I wonder if sort of versus the Emissaries Imperatus build, the Venerable Contemptors are a little bit stronger in Emperor's Chosen specifically because the multi-meltas benefiting from the reroll are probably a little bit more exciting than shooting the spear gun. So getting the Venerable Contemptor. We don't have Trajan Valoris in this list, I'm just noticing, chat. I was going to say, with Valoris rerolls and a wound reroll, it means that you can probably convert all of your attacks, but with no Trajan, you're just on that Emperor's Chosen reroll. Which, to be fair, hitting on 2s is probably all you need, because they don't bracket. So, I guess that makes sense, is if you're in Emperor's Chosen, you're probably valuing these a little bit more highly than other sub-factions. 2 units of Virtus Praetors, alongside of 3 Caladius Grav tanks with accelerator cannons. Pretty standard stuff. No Trajan though. I mean if we're building for the Grav tanks, you don't really need Trajan, right? Because they don't get the rerolls. I'm gonna sneeze one, check chat. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh. Woo! I like when secondaries are just better. Avoided. Fed units to score points, and DG aren't fast enough to make plays. Yeah. That is, I think, generally how it's going. And I will say, I was kind of coming to this realization over the weekend, chat. And as I was playing my games, like I was playing against, and playing a tiered player, I think I'm a little bit more susceptible to this than other people. But I was playing my games and sort of noticing that the impact of faction-specific secondaries is probably greater than what we would have wanted, because it does feel like the comparative ease, of victory is so much stronger if you have good faction secondaries. The other player is like scrambling to make up space, and I don't know if that's great. I really like faction secondaries. I think they're cool, but I do think that the sort of balance level between them is kind of insane. There are some factions who, like Necrons, like we're talking about. Although to be fair, Necrons do feel like it was a bit of a balancing act where they're strong because of their secondaries, but their data sheets aren't that good. But there are factions like Harlequins that have already decent things going on and have solid secondaries. I don't know if that is necessary. I don't know what the fix is. I do think, 40k I think would benefit from a better mission system overall. I do think Nephilim is the best that we've seen, but it's certainly not perfect. All right. Last but certainly not least, Feliz Exterminatus. We'd had Dan Salmons win it with Astra Militarum. Brent Simon over here at Chaos Demons. These are some, if you played OG War Machine, chat, these are some War Machine names here. We'll go up the list this time. Let's just talk about Tyranids first real quick. Playing Leviathan with Exoskeletal Stabilization. Does that move and shoot heavy weapons? I clicked on the wrong button. I'm sorry, chat. Excuse me, that is ignore AP1. All right, fair enough. Seems fine. We have... Oh, excuse me, that's exoskeletal reinforcement. What is exoskeletal stabilization? Oh, advance and shoot without penalty, move and fire heavy without penalty, and you can fire heavy weapons in melee. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Excuse me, I just read entirely the wrong ability. Yeah. So we're moving and shooting without penalty, basically. All right, cool. We have a Tyranid Prime. Love to see him with a Venom Cannon. Neurothrope with Synaptic Tendrils. A Turvagon. Turvagon build so strong. With Maw-Claws of Thyrax. Winged Hive Tyrant with Reaper of Obliterax and Adaptive Biology. 30 Termagants to sit next to that Turvagon. 10 Gargoyles. 9 Tyranid Warriors with Bone Swords and Venom Cannons. A Maleceptor. Whoa! Maleceptor, chat. These are all Blast from the Past lists. Hot damn. 1 unit of Tyrant Guard, 1 unit of Venom Thropes, 1 unit of Zone Thropes, 1 unit of Bioforce. Is this a list that someone like accidentally made 6 months ago and then forgot to change? That's what this looks like. So, Maleceptor. Incredible. Truly incredible. So, yeah. I think the Maleceptor has interesting sort of meta. What's the word? It's interesting in the meta right now because it more heavily affects odd strength values than even ones. And right now, probably the most important strength value in the game is 5. And it's not going to give any effect to the Termagants, but it does make the Tyranid Warrior stronger, and it makes the T8 monster stronger, so itself and the Turvagon with its aura active. So not only does it give you this like psychic powerhouse, but it also makes it much tougher for things like Flamers to damage you, which is a huge deal. And I do think the Maleceptor is actually pretty good for that. So I do expect to see a little bit of an uptick in Maleceptor play. I think especially in conjunction with T8 monsters, but it makes sense with the Warriors as well. Because if you're saying, you know, the Warriors used to be transhuman, they lost to the transhuman, but now the Maleceptor can kind of give it back in a lot of situations. And the Maleceptor also is just very good against things like Terminator Bricks and Chaos Demons and all of these armies that are relying on uninteractable saves that the Maleceptor can just drill through. So that seems pretty cool. Nice to see the Blast from the Past list. It shows the meta is in a good place overall. Yeah, I think so. I do think the meta is pretty cool. You know, we're obviously Tyranids are a little overrepresented right now. Astra Militarum probably just because they're new, and maybe like a smattering of Chaos Demons. But other than that, I mean, we kind of see everything, which is pretty exciting. Speaking of Chaos Demons, here's Brent Simon. He's playing a Khorne list. I think I talked about this recently. I talked about Brent's list recently in a video. We've got Be'lakor. We've got 30 Bloodletters. We've got 2 Skull Cannons for some fire support. Love to see it. Vanguard Detachment. This one's out of Tzeentch. So we have the Khorne and Tzeentch abilities unlocked. 2 Fate Skimmers. It turns out, Chad, if you remove the Impossible Robe from a Lord of Change, underneath it, it's just 2 Fate Skimmers standing on top of each other. So if you don't want to take a Lord of Change, you can take 2 Fate Skimmers, and they kind of do the same thing. You can play a little bit faster and looser with 1 Fate Skimmer, because they can run up and like bolt and gateway somebody, and then if they die, it's not the end of the world. But I do kind of like playing the Lord of Change, because people hyper-focus on him, and then the Flamers get to counter-punch and kill them. And then we have the full 18 Flamers and 2 Burning Chariots. This list's pretty rad, chat. We have so many small, independent units running around. 2 Fate Skimmers, 2 Burning Chariots, 2 Skull Cannons that are relatively fast, have decent shooting, and can kind of shore up for these Bloodletters and things. They can keep shooting as your opponent's dealing with Bloodletters and Flamers in their face. So this list actually seems very sweet. Like, are you going to shoot a Skull Cannon that's plinking you for 4 damage a turn, or are you going to shoot the 30 Bloodletters that are stealing your objectives away? So you probably actually get to fire at those cannons every turn. Last but certainly not least, Dan Salmons with Astra Militarum. This is a Born Soldiers list. Looks like it's going to be pretty similar to the one we just talked about. Lord Solar Leontus. 2 Cadian Command Squads. 1 has an Ogren Bodyguard. A Tank Commander. 3 units of Cadian Shock Troops. 3 units of Khazarkan. One of them has 2 Hotshot Volley Guns and 2 Plasma Guns. Interesting. 3 units of Scout Sentinels, and then 4 total Leman Russ. Looks like Executioner Plasma Cannons on all of them. One of them has Heavy Flamers to play a little bit more aggressively. And then a Death Strike Missile Launcher. Probably to force people up forward into the shooting gallery. This feels like it's going to be what a lot of lists look like, at least for the time being. It's interesting that maybe the models aren't released yet and people haven't really been playing them, but I expected to see a brick of horsies in one of these in these armies, like one, especially with Lord Soliliantis, because he can hyper buff them and the horses hit for super hard, the Adeline Rough Riders. I guess like if you have the CP to spare, which I imagine these lists do, because they're running single detachment and they're running they spend 4 points pregame, so they have 4 CP to play with. And does Grand Strategist give them a regen? They're getting a regen from somewhere, right, chat? Yeah. They get a 5+ CP refund. So you're probably playing with 2 CP to start with and 3 CP per battle round. So you're probably playing with a lot of CP. So if you're just dumping CP into buffing the Khazarkan teams, you're not that worried about spending a ton. So the Khazarkan can sort of just be your counter punches, which makes sense. You're like, hey man, if you don't come fight me, I'm gonna take the middle of the table with Shark Troopers. I'm gonna shoot you with a Death Strike missile launcher to force you to move. And then, like, I'm slowly gonna get to position with tank commanders or with Leman Russ. And if you don't do anything about it, I'll slowly kill you and I'll win on primary. If you do something about it, the Khazarkan are going to kill you. Just as, I don't know, pretty classic Astra Militarum stuff. So that seems pretty good. And that's how you say, chat, is all of the lists. That's all the lists. So talking about a ton of Astra Militarum lists, looks like Astra Militarum sort of settled, at least for the time being, into that build, which is this like sort of mix between Leman Russ battle tanks and Khazarkan. I wonder if we're going to see a shakeup once these other things come out. Once Rough Riders get more, become more usable. And I wouldn't be shocked to see maybe sometime next month, maybe later this month, a nerf to Khazarkans to make the other elites choices a little bit more playable, or the other fast attack choices a little bit more playable. Do I know if the Black Raider proxy is acceptable for the Raider? If the Black Raider proxy, what does that mean? Like the old Raider? Oh, like the original Raider? Like this guy, chat? Does that show up okay? Yeah. Like that, friend? Don't know if the Black Rider. Black Rider. Yeah, I don't know what that is, chat. No idea. You'd have to send me a link. Generally speaking, if something is the original version of another unit, it is legally playable as that unit. Some events competitively require you to like sub in the most current version for for line of sight and range measurements, but that's not a hard and fast rule. And almost across the board, if you're using the old version of a unit, you're good to go. So yeah. Anyway, chat. I think we'll call that there. I think that I'm gonna try to be on Dark Tide in a couple hours. I do have some meetings later this afternoon. I have some other work to do. Is a Black Rider from Lord of the Rings a good proxy for the Cavalier and Imperial Guard? Do you mean like for an Adeline Rough Rider? No. Lord of the Rings is deliberately a 25 mil scale. So they are, if you were to compare them to 40k models, they would look tiny. So a Black Rider on a horse is probably like the height of a Primaris Space Marine. Like the models are minuscule compared to 40k models. So I don't think that would be a very good proxy. You can probably find some historicals that are like pretty close. You can also just like use old Warhammer Fantasy. I think I was joking last week where like the Bretonnian Knights are gonna come out. I bet you can find Warhammer Fantasy. Let's see. Let's take a look. I bet you could find like old Warhammer Fantasy like Bretonnians and stuff, and I think it would be pretty cool. But I imagine the yeah, like these friends over here. I imagine that the like resin fantasy battle models would be real expensive to proxy for a whole unit. If you needed like 9 of those things, how much is a Nazgul? Yeah, they're $20 a piece. I guess that's probably pretty similar to what the 40k would be. But for scale, chat, this is a 40mm base. So this is the base that a Terminator comes on, and you can imagine a Terminator is like this size, right? So like they're like similar in scale to like a Terminator. Whereas a dude on a horse in 40k scale, they're on the big oval bases. They're dramatically larger. Yeah. Yeah, that was part of the licensing deal between New Line Cinema and what's the word? And GW when Lord of the Rings first came over to GW, where they had to make them a separate scale from their other games so that they were distinct, so that you couldn't cross-contaminate the IPs, basically. Almost exactly for that reason. Yeah. Little unfortunate. Death or Glory Pete, I am excited to see you at MCM2. I'm psyched. I'm psyched to stream more events. I think it's going to be awesome. Cool. All right, chats. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up there. Come hang out with me on Twitch, probably 2 or 3 hours from now, I'd say. I'm going to stream a couple games of Dark Tide and just hang out for a bit, sort of wind down. Been a busy day for me. So, yeah, come hang out with me while I do that. I might give this new camera a try if I can make that happen. And otherwise, keep it classy, folks. And have happy wargaming. What are the things I say at the end of the video? You know, whatever. All right,